Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cambridge Econ Week 2. I am super excited for this week. We really get to start diving into the ideas behind entrepreneurship, and you get to actually get your hands involved in creating your own business idea and the big topic of this week, which is exploring ideas and opportunities. So we see this as our Shark Tank project week 2. Last week, we looked at some examples of Shark Tank businesses. You thought about entrepreneurs who have been successful in starting their own businesses because I wanted you to have a strong foundation as you went in this week and started to think about what ideas you might want to develop and eventually pitch at the end of this whole thing. My contact information is here if you need it. Feel free to email or text anytime. Also, some people have been texting their assignments to me. That's totally fine as long as I can read the picture. That's perfectly okay with me. So this week, we are going to be looking for ideas. Our whole focus this week is on the fact that entrepreneurs are always looking at opportunities and problems in new ways. So entrepreneurs are not people that look at the world and say, well, this is an issue, oh well, and just complain about it. They look for ways to address those issues and maybe even come up with solutions to fix them. So this week, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to work, first of all, starting today, to get you into the entrepreneurial mindset. So I'm going to really have you start to wrap your head around how can we look at ideas, look at problems and even objects, which is our focus for today, in new lights. We're going to do that because we eventually want to be able to identify problems that exist in the world. Tomorrow, we're going to break down a problem analysis, and we are going to do that because eventually we want to find solutions to those problems, and you're going to do that in the form of a product or service that you would like to create or invent so that you can address that problem in some way. So that's kind of a big statement that's going to be our guiding focus for this week. Here is your calendar of our big topics or assignments, everything that you kind of need for this week. Today, like I said, we're going to be focusing on building our entrepreneurial mindset, and I'm going to explain to you your assignment that is due on Wednesday of this week. You see that there are two things highlighted in yellow. One of them I'm going to introduce today. The other one I'm going to start introducing tomorrow. But neither of them are due until later in this week because you're definitely going to need some brainstorming time. You're going to need some thinking time. You might even need to sleep on it a little bit in order to make sure you're coming up with the best ideas that you can. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about what it means to brainstorm problems and to evaluate those problems. And that'll help you through the first part of your assignment due Friday. Wednesday, I'm going to actually introduce a new concept called the circular flow. And you're going to use that diagram and that process to prove the viability of one of the solutions that you come up with. So you're going to choose one of your problems and you're going to think about what solutions might work, what product or services could address that problem in some way. And then you're going to start proving for the rest of the week whether or not that product or service could actually exist in our marketplace. So we're going to do that with the circular flow. We're going to take it back and do a little throwback Thursday here to supply and demand. Yes, I said throwback Thursday. After you have your own business idea, so after we do that problem brainstorming, we think about our solution, we think about how our business or product will work. We're going to think about, well, could this actually be possible? Could we actually take this to the marketplace? And we're going to prove that consumers want this product and that we could actually produce it. And then you're going to put all these pieces together in that assignment that's due Friday. So Friday, we're not going to go through anything new. It's just your opportunity to kind of tie up those loose ends. So that's what's coming this week. Let's go ahead and start diving into what we're looking at today. Our big question for today and for the rest of this week is what business or product will be successful in the future and how am I going to achieve that? Now, this I know is a really big question and it can be really hard to dive into this question. It seems like, well, everything's already been invented, everything's already been created. So how in the world am I supposed to do something new? Well, we're going to talk today about two different ways and two different kind of activities or strategies that you can use to help build that mindset so you can answer this question successfully. So we might be able to answer this question in one way by shifting our perspective a little bit. So we're going to start off with an activity. I ask that you just grab a scrap piece of paper This is not something you need to officially turn in, but what you see here on this screen is you see a picture with a clue. This picture is a very, very close-up version of an everyday object or something that you would see pretty commonly. I want you to take a second, pause this video, and make a prediction about what you think this object actually is based on the clue and edible handle. Now we see, after we zoom out from this video, that in reality, we have a picture of an ice cream cone. It doesn't necessarily look like an ice cream cone when we look up close in this very, very close-up version, but when we see the bigger picture, when we zoom out, we see that we have just an ice cream cone. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have a picture with the clue, yellow is definitely my color. Again, go ahead and pause and make your prediction about what you think this object actually is. All right, when we zoom out, when we take our eyes off of the small detail and change our perspective a little bit, we see that this is actually just a pencil, and it's the very top metal portion of the pencil. All right, we have another example. Here we go with our hint, get it together. I think this is one of the tougher ones. Go ahead and make your prediction. And we see here that we have a zipper. This is definitely a tough one. And probably, if I had to guess at least, your guess about the bigger picture might not have even been correct, but that doesn't mean that your prediction couldn't lead to something else in terms of the entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so we just did that little activity because I think it's a great example of a way to think about our world from a different perspective. Sometimes when we look at objects, we just see them for what they are, right? We look at the whole pencil, we look at the whole sweatshirt, we look at the whole ice cream cone, and we're like, well, what is there to think about here? But if we zoom in on that problem, or in this case on that object, and we look at it more closely, or if we start really close and then we try to broaden our perspective, it can be easier to think about what we could do with that object, where gaps might fall, where opportunities lie for us to kind of get our hands involved and create something new. So based on your experience with the past couple slides, with the ice cream, with the pencil, the zipper slides, etc., I want you to go ahead and answer this question. Why is it important to look at objects, problems, and situations from a lot of different angles and perspectives, and what can we learn by doing that? So why is it important to look at the zipper or the ice cream cone both up close and from far away? You're going to do that by writing a one paragraph reflection, and when I say a paragraph, I'm looking for 5 to 7 complete sentences. Part 2 of this assignment, again, remember it is not due until Wednesday, is a little bit of an object scavenger hunt. So here's what I want you to do. Again, we're practicing getting in that entrepreneurial mindset. So all of this requires a little bit of creativity. Some of you are going to hate this, but I think it's a really great way to start stretching those brain muscles and getting you to think about what are opportunities, what possibilities exist in just some of the really simple things around us. Because if we can find those answers, when we start to look at problems in the world, it becomes easier to use our brain to find solutions to those problems. So look around your house first and find 3 random objects. You can grab them from your kitchen, pick them up from your living room. I don't care where you get them from, but pick 3 objects. And for every object, I want you to go ahead and think through this process to answer these 3 questions. 1, what is the object really used for? That's an easy one. Number 2, what could you use this object for? Here's where you're going to need to use your imagination. So if you have a pencil, for question number 1, you're going to tell me it's used for writing, but do not tell me it could be used for signing a check. That is something that we know it is already used for. What's something that it is not currently used for in your house, or that you don't use it for right now, that you could use it for at some point? And then the third question is, how could you turn this new use into a business idea? Again, this is going to take some creativity and some time, so let me walk you through an example because I'm asking you to do it, so I definitely had to do it myself. So I have been drinking an absurd amount of coffee while I'm here at my house and doing e-learning, which is probably why I'm not sleeping in the evening time. But when I was thinking about objects, the first one that came to my mind was a coffee cup. So I went through these 3 questions myself. A coffee cup is used right now in my house for holding beverages. whether it's tea, coffee, water, whatever, it is holding liquids of some sort. Now, I needed to step outside of its traditional use and say, well, it could be used for, and I know it's something that has to hold things. And so I was looking around and I have this spider plant in my house. And so I said, well, it technically could be used for holding plants if I wanted it to. It's not used for that right now, but it could be used for that. So how can I take this idea of a coffee pot or a coffee cup holding plants and turn it into a business idea? So I said that I could start a business that reuses old coffee mugs, whether they're from Goodwill or from donations, that turns them into, and then I could have the business that turns them into home planting kits. So a really big trend right now is everyone growing their own herbs and like doing their gardening, especially being at home. So I could assemble kits using old coffee mugs in order to plant herbs, little vegetables, things like that, so that people could grow vegetables and things in their own home. I know this process is not easy. I know it takes some work. I know it takes some thinking. So that's why you have a couple days to think through these 3 objects. Give yourself a chance, walk around, hold the object for a little bit, stare at it, ask your siblings, ask parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, get some feedback if you're feeling really stuck. You can also let me know if you're feeling really stuck. And I'm happy to walk you through some of my thought process behind it. This assignment is due on Wednesday. So once you have your object reflection and the scavenger hunt questions done, I want you to go ahead and write your answers out on that lined paper or Google Doc, just like before, and then email me a picture of those responses or share that doc. My email address is here for you if you need it. Again, I know this is going to take some creativity. This week is going to stretch your brains in different ways, and I know that can feel uncomfortable and that can feel tough, but I'm also hoping it gives you a little bit of relief as we're thinking about all the craziness that's going on in the world. We're going to think about problems this week and how we can step in to address those problems. And so I'm hoping that brings us a sense of like power and control back for ourselves as we are doing our work. If you have questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, I will see you on Zoom later and again on YouTube for our video for tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.